Hey guys, welcome back to the 50/50 Showcase. This is episode 25. Triton. He is the fifth defender of five, the 25th hero, vigilante, villain, rogue of the series, where I am taking 50 of my level 50 characters from City of Heroes, the Homecoming servers, the Excelsior Shard, and showcasing what they do, not just on paper, looking at their builds. Of course, we're going to do that, but then we're actually going to talk about the strategy, some tactics. Then I'm going to demonstrate it both in solo missions, so just me versus some level 52, 53 foes to show how those different tactics work in real game. And then, of course, running some team missions to show how you have to change or adapt your abilities, your tactics, that sort of thing, based upon who you're teamed with, because the game is chaotic, and there's no predicting what's going to happen on a standard pug. All right, with that out of the way, let's take a look at his build in mids. And just in case you've been looking to download these builds, it's still not letting me properly export them, so I'm still waiting for the bug fix on that. And once I have an ETA, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, you're free to take a look at the screenshot here and pause it and copy it, whatever you want to do, up to you. If you're trying to follow at home. But anyway, let's take a look at this build. You can see as far as power selection, cold domination, I've taken everything. If you don't know anything about cold domination, it's a buffing slash debuffing set. It's the set that I think Force Field wishes it was. It has defense resistant shields such as Ice Shield and Glacial Shield to defend your allies. Plus, it has Frost Work, which is a nice max HP boost. And you've also got Arctic Fog, which is going to provide some defense, stealth, and additional resistance to protect your allies mostly, and a little bit yourself. And then it has some really powerful debuffs with Infrigidate. It's got Snowstorm, which is a toggle slow, minus recharge, etc. You got Benumb, which is a single target debuff of endurance and damage reduction, regeneration deduction. You got Sleet, which is a great, raining patch of debuff, speed, defense, resistance, shredding the enemies, and heat loss. That's your tier 9. It's a big old endurance drain, minus resistance, slow, plus it then boosts your endurance recovery. It's essentially a fulcrum shift for cold domination, although it doesn't boost damage. It lowers the resistance and endurance of your targets and then boosts your endurance and recovery. But it's a great tier 9 power when you add it all together with all the other stuff. And then there's dual pistols, which some people like, some people hate. I think it's pretty fun. It's got some great not combos, but it's got the swap ammo ability, which lets you exchange your damage type from standard just kinetic rounds to fire, toxic, and cryo. I have cryo on this one because one of my big themes is slowing, slow, slow, slow. That's what I'm going to be doing with things like Infrigidate, Snowstorm, the Sleet Power, and the cryo rounds on these bullets. Because once you swap ammo and select cryo, all the damage dealt by your bullets is now going to be cold damage, and it's also going to apply a slow effect, a minus speed, minus recharge. So you start combine that with your primary debuffs. That with your bullets is going to really mess with the enemy's ability to maneuver and get away from what you're going to hope is a big old concentrated, patch of death between Snowstorm and Sleet, and then you're raining bullets down on top of them. Hail of bullets, you can get right up into melee range of that. You've got a couple of cones with piercing rounds and empty clips. Bullet rain, as I already mentioned that one. That's like a nice targeted AoE. So there's lots of potential damage as well as debuff combined here. If you look at the sets I've chosen, this is a fairly expensive build because I've got three winter sets. I've got what is it? Winter's Bite here in pistols. I've got what is this one? Frozen Blast is here in empty clips, and then I've got an Hail of Bullets. I've got Avalanche over here. So the three of those are expensive sets. Winter sets are not cheap. You have to get them through the winter packs. I think you might be able to buy them through merits, but I can't remember exactly. But anyway, if you go through the winter packs, it's can be expensive because winter packs cost like 25 million, or you have to then hopefully you get a lucky draw, or you have to go onto the market and buy them individually. And then I've also got a couple of archetype origins, so ATOs. I've got Bullet Rain has Vigilant Assault in it. And then I've got Piercing Rounds sitting there with the Defender's Bastion. And I've got these all six slotted. So again, not a cheap build. This is probably pushing 500 million for this build when you start factoring in those things. If you have to buy them off the market, it's going to cost you a bit of money. The other sets I have are not super, extreme or rare. I do have a couple, higher priced ones like the Aegis and the Impervium armor over here. They're not going to break the bank, but they add up with all the other stuff to make this a pretty pricey build. Then the other thing I have is you'll notice that I've really built for survivability on this character because you've got Arctic Fog in your primary, which provides some defense as well as resistance to fire, cold, energy, and slow. And then I'm taking my Soul Mastery armor, the shield here, which is Dark Embrace. That gives me Smash, Lethal, Negative, and Toxic. So right there between, those two powers, I've got uh, seven different damage types that I have resistance to. And then to kind of round this out, I went ahead and went with the fighting pool and grab Tough. That gives me additional smash and lethal damage resistance. So I've got lots of damage resistance, and then on top of that, I went with a bunch of uh, defense. I've got Arctic Fog has defense built into it. I've got combat jumping, that's got defense built into it. I've taken hover, that has defense built into it. So I've got defense, from those powers, plus I've got defense just from set bonuses. So if we take a look at my overall numbers, you'll see what I'm talking about. I can go ahead and make sure I've got shut off. I don't want heat loss turned on at this time because it's usually not just on. Turn off my pop-ups. All right, that's all been deactivated, and then, yep, all my incarnates are shut off. Okay, so if you take a look at my totals then, you can see with just bare bones what I'm running, right? My defenses are sitting there in the teens and 20s and 30s on fire and cold. I got a lot of defense and resistance for fire and cold from those winter sets. And then look at my resistances down here. Smash and lethal, that's capped for a defender, 75% resistance. That is as high as you can get for a defender archetype. Fire and cold are in the 50s. I got 30s and 20s and some of the other stuff. But once I start activating my other powers, for instance, when I hit power boost, you'll see that those defense numbers pop up just from clicking that power. So power boost enhances defenses. So that's a good thing to know if you are, uh, clicking that. It's going to boost up like combat jumping. I believe it's defense and hover's defense. I think it doesn't affect the defense of like mixed shield stuff like your glacial shield power, stuff like that. I don't think it boosts that number. But anyway, power boost is going to help my defense. Another thing that helps your defense is hail of bullets. When you activate that, it actually boosts your, if you take a look, melee range AoE defenses are jumping up when I click that. So Hail of Bullets gives me some defense when I fire that, which I do pretty frequently. And then you come down here and take a look at your other defensive powers. I've got the Agility Paragon. Hold on. That doesn't have any defense, but it does have, let me turn on the pop-ups again. Go back to this. So agility, that's gonna give you some endurance mod and recharge, and then it does boost defense overall. So if I click it, you'll see my overall numbers are going up about 2% on the defense. So whenever I'm running level 50 plus content and my alpha slot is activated, I'm gonna get a little bit more defense, only a couple percent, but it's a little bit more, right? And then you got support core, it's my hybrids. That gives me damage, accuracy, defense, as well as special. So I hit defense, you can see my numbers jumping up defensively again by what, 12% or so. So that's another big old boost of defense. And then Clarion, that's my destiny. So when I click this, it has plus range plus special. What is special? Special could be defense is considered that. So if I activate Clarion while that's hot, you can see my defense numbers go up even higher into the 40s, 50s, 60s. And if I go back and hit power boost, 60, 70%, 80%. Oh, Hail of Bullets got activated. Bam. I have defenses 60, 70, 80, 97.7%. Now, it's going to be rare you have all those things at the same exact time running, but it shows you that this character has tons of ways to increase his survivability through just raw defense, plus his damage resistance is pretty solid to several damage types. I've got some damage resistance pretty much to everything out there in the game. So that is the cool thing with this particular build. You also have the ability to boost your damage with Soul Drain. So you can see my to hit value goes up to 33.4. So that gives me to hit as well as damage boost. Remember, I'm also getting damage boost from my support core down here. Let me take a look at my, you can't see this because it doesn't show up on a separate window here. But my miscellaneous buffs, my damage is buffed 198% when I've clicked those powers. Soul Drain and the support core there. So I'm getting huge amounts of extra damage and accuracy. The accuracy boost I'm getting, just to throw that number at you as well, is going to be 41%. And then it's a hit buffing, like I already mentioned, was 33%. So I'm going to be able to hit a lot easier. I'm going to be able to do more damage. My recharge is pretty solid as well. I've got recharge sitting at was only 2.5%. I thought I had higher than that. Huh? Well, I have overall recharge boost from the agility, but anyway, so I only got a couple extra. But my power's going to come back pretty quick just because I've got agility, plus I've got a bunch of recharges slotted in those powers, so they're coming back quickly. That's actually a problem. This character can run out of endurance. You've seen me have issues with that on a couple other builds. This one is no exception. On paper, it's not too bad, 3.1 recovery versus 1.3, but I am a high burn build here. You are going to be firing a lot of bullets, and if you throw Snowstorm out there, you got 1.6. Now you've broken the 2-to-1 threshold that I like to maintain. The only thing that really saves you is heat loss. When that is up, you can jack up your recovery to 5.4 per second. So once I have heat loss fired, I'm not worried about endurance. But that is let's see what's the recharge and heat loss. 173 seconds roughly, so it's up for 90 and then down for close to 90, 80 seconds. So it's kind of hit or miss, half the mission. Let's say I've got heat loss running, I don't have to worry about any sort of endurance issues, but it's still an issue. And then I've got paralytic core over here. That's going to give me some minus defense and some more minus damage. I do have minus damage already with benumb is a great power that, let's do it pop-ups again. Benumb has that cooked into it. It's got minus damage. If you look at the numbers on benumb, it is going to debuff damage 62.5%. So that's really nice. And then you throw in, of course, your paralytics are going to be debuffing damage. And I think, is heat loss does minus damage as well, or am I mistaken on that one? I thought something else you had did minus damage. Maybe it's not heat loss. Nope, that's minus resistance, minus endurance. All right, well, anyway, so benumb combined with your paralytic can protect you from, strong enemies, bosses, uh, archvillains, that sort of thing. It can lower their defense. And then I've got the minus defense in there with the paralytic, which is going to help me hit more often. Combine that with, of course, my higher to hits with soul drain and just the accuracy I've got slotted and a bunch of different powers, plus my support core there for the hybrid. So I've got lots of ways to deal damage. I've got lots of ways to protect myself. And this character is a great team buffer because if you take a look at the numbers on, for instance, Ice Shield here, it's applying 10% resistance buff to fire, 12.5 to cold, but it's given a 52.5% smash lethal boost. Again, I don't know. Let's see if this changes. Yeah, so according to this, power boost buffs the defense value of ice shields. I didn't think that it did. I thought there was something in the code that only allowed pure defense to be buffed by power boost. But maybe that's been changed. I don't know. But anyway, even without it, I'm still jacking up the defense of an ally by 37.8% to smash lethal melee for 240 seconds. I mean, come on, guys, it's what, 4 minutes? And then you got Glacial Shield, similar to that one. I'm getting another 37 and some change defense, energy negative range. Plus, you're getting more damage resistance to cold. Then you've got Arctic Fog that I'm running. That's going to provide 10% defense to, I think, myself. And then is it 5% defense to toxic? I think that's everybody's getting the 10%. So 5% toxic, 10% to positional, it looks like. Then there's damage resistance from the fog as well. Fire, cold, energy. So people that are standing near me, I'm able to shield and screen with the fog. They're getting lots of defense and damage resistance by standing, within range of me. Plus, this is also going to provide a stealth. And then Frostwork is your other target buff. This is only a single target, unlike the shields there, Ice Shield and Glacial Shield. You can put damage resistance to toxic 20%. That's not the real big reason for Frostwork. Big reason is this. Check this out. I can give 791 temporary hit points to a target for 120 seconds with that power of Frostworks. That's huge. You can throw that on maybe a squishy character that's on your team who's maybe taking a beating and at least make them, a lot tougher. Or maybe throw this on your scrapper because you don't have a tank or you don't have a brute that, is going in there and tanking, so throw it on a scrapper, right? You throw it even hell, throw it on a stalker. Somebody can get in the melee, and now they can soak another almost 800 damage with that power. So that's huge right there. What else you got? Then you got lots of just procs and different types of debuff on here. I already talked about a lot of the debuff things, but in Frigidate, I've got it slotted for damage procs with, pull up my pop-ups again here. Lethal, negative, smashing damage. This is like a mini little blast when this thing procs. You got pistols is going to be procking the minus speed, minus recharge. You've got empty clips is procking an immobilize. Snowstorm, did I put a damage proc in here? Yeah, I put the chance for smashing in that one. I've got the bullet rain has the proc chance for absorb. I've got sleep is procced out a bit as well. I've got the lethal damage proc, the negative damage proc, and did I put any of them? No, these are just endurance recharge and slow so that I can run it for a decent amount of time. Plus, I got some other resistance from some of these powers. Hail of Bullets is going to be procking knockdown. Piercing Rounds is procking a PB AoE heal. Heat loss, I didn't do the proc at that one. I think I have the resistance to psionic there with the impervium armor, and I have the resistance to psionic in the Aegis. So that's where I'm getting some psi resistance out of this build. Sprint, I don't know why I have the stealth there because I've got Arctic Fog. I don't really need that, right? And then I've got what is this? The preventative medicine absorb proc is sitting in health. I might actually move that to the Numinous depending on how things go with some of the tests today. But anyway, lots of procking, right? Lots of debuffing, lots of potential damage, and I'm going to be just hovering around the battlefield, unleashing from out of melee range, while I'm just keeping things slowed and concentrated with sleet and snowstorm, and then just throwing rain of bullets. I can dive into melee, hit soul drain, and then hail of bullets. It's just a brutal takedown of enemies, and then just all these various control-y type of slows and minus recharge and knockdown and immobilize and blah blah blah. This guy can lay it down pretty well. It's kind of a bit slow, no pun intended there, damage because it's a lot of like DOTs, small little ticks of damage. There's no like real big boomy hits that like take 3/4 of somebody's health with a single shot. It's just this slow, steady whittling of the enemies. And on a team that's going to be really nice because you're just going to be raining death onto a big group of foes, and then your tank or brutes in the middle of them laying out some PBAOE smashing, or you got some blaster unleashing hell from backline. Stuff is going to be dropping all over the place. This also teams nicely with controllers that are throwing out, AoE immobilizes. Their pets are jumping on things. Works great with masterminds on top of that. So anyway, great combination, very survivable. I think you'll see in practice here what I'm talking about once we get into those missions. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and fire up a couple of solo runs against some console. We'll be back with that in a minute.